and welcome to episode 18 of the Good Game Roundtable podcast. I'm Lin Jie Kong, and for the next 6 or so episodes, we're going to embark on a little journey with the Good Game family. I'm ditching the roundtable and taking this podcast on the road, conducting individual interviews with everyone on the team. And in celebration of Good Game's 10th anniversary this year, I'm asking the people who work on the show about their favourite moments and what Good Game means to them. And I'm going to name this series very unoriginally Humans of Good Game. And to kick it off, here's the person who's responsible for the whole thing, Janet Carr. All right, Janet. We're here again in the interview room. First of all, what's the earliest memory that you have of Good Game?
It was when a wonderful man that I was working with up at ABC2 called Dan Phil stopped by my desk and said, I was already making a program up there for them called Australia Wide, and he said to me, "Oh, Janet, Australia Wide's going really well. Have you got any other ideas for a TV show?" And at that point I went, "Yes, Dan, I do. I think we should make a show about video games." So that is the earliest memory I have of Good
And I
Game.
think you win the prize for actually having the earliest memory.
It's almost like a twinkle in the eye memory, isn't it?
Yeah, because, I mean, it just stated from you, so no one else would have had earlier memory of Good Game. What has been your most memorable and favourite moment on Good Game?
Can I have 3?
You can have 3. I mean, you're the boss. You can have as many as you like.
Okay, well, I guess from a work point of view, it would be when we kidnapped Gabe Newell and he came to my house. So I may have told this story before, Lynn, and I don't want to bore everyone's socks off.
Sorry, I'm sure they'll love to hear it again.
Well, Gabe was lured down to Australia, was essentially paid to come down to Australia by a young coder up in Brisbane who had made a mod for Left 4 Dead. So back in the day, and he probably still does, Gabe used to exchange emails with young mod developers. And this kid had done this and he said, "Oh, why don't you ever come and review my mod?" And Gabe said, "Well, if you pay for my ticket, I'll come." So the kid did what was back then a Kickstarter campaign, and sure enough, the money was raised in 24 hours, and Gabe, true to his word, came to Australia. He met the young man who flew down from Brisbane at a hotel in Sydney. We were invited because by then we had already met Gabe once over in Seattle, and they were trying to install Steam on the hotel's computer, and it was really slow. The computer was not a gaming rig. It didn't have a proper graphics card. Internet was terrible. And so I'm there with the camera crew, and of course I pipe up and say, "Well, look, my house is only 10 minutes away," which was a lie because it was more like half an hour away. But anyway, why don't we go to my place? So Gabe just went, "Yeah, all right." So we bundled him into the crew car with the crew and the young guy from Brisbane, and out we went to my house. So there is Gabe Newell in my house on my personal computer playing Left 4 Dead. Luckily for me, I had made cookies for my sons when they came home from school that day, which he ate. And I had some lovely fresh oranges, and we had the most wonderful afternoon. We really did. And how often do you get to spend time like that with one of your heroes? And he is one of my heroes, and he was such a lovely, lovely person. So that's such a highlight.
I mean, it's interesting to think maybe at that time, like, that was still possible, right? Like with some of the big names maybe in the industry. Maybe nowadays, maybe not so much, just with how profile they are.
Probably not, but he did kind of come by himself. This was a kind of a dare. I subsequently found out, in fact, Gabe told me that, in fact, most of the money had been raised by employees at Valve who had, kind of trolled him and
wanted him to go to Australia.
Well, they were like, "Ha, ha, ha, you said this. Yeah. Now we're going to pay you. Now you have to go and do it." So he really didn't have much of an entourage with him. And, his kind of, it was a bit of a sort of, flying under the radar kind of trip. So it meant that, his schedule wasn't so tied up. But yeah, you're right. Nowadays, when they visit, their time's so short that you don't get to really have much personal time with them.
Yeah. Maybe next time.
Yeah.
You kidnap like a next level Gabe Newell or some sort. Yeah. Well, talking about entourage, like we had a John Howard cameo on Spawn Point a couple of weeks ago.
How
right?
good was that?
And he was just in the foyer, no entourage, no one. Ex-Prime Minister of, former Prime Minister of the country.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? And back in the day, I remember doing a Late Line with Bob Hawke, and at the end of it, it was, I had to stand out on the Pacific Highway on a very busy and try and flag down a taxi for him and just put him in the he was fine with that. It was fine. So,
but I mean, that is something I think I've mentioned this to you before. Is there's something like lovely about this country, and how egalitarian it is. That even a former prime minister is just like the layman on the street. You know,
and I think international visitors respond to that. They do. They respond to the friendliness and the honesty of Australians, and they also feel safe. And the thing that Australians have, I think, is that we are so genuinely glad that people have come. You've made that effort to come all that way.
You've flown for 24 hours. Thank you.
We all know what that feels like, right? And we know you've come a long way and you're likely to be highly jet lagged. And we're so glad you're here and we love you and we love your work. And we don't, we're happy to say that they see it on our faces and they respond.
Yeah, no. It was definitely a kind of cool scene. One of the more surreal moments of my career. So, what are the other two favorite moments that you had?
Well, the other one also involves a game developer, and that was when I was very lucky and fortunate, all due to our work on Good Game and how far Good Game has come, was that I was given an internal scholarship, which meant that I could go and spend a month with Media Molecule. So that was a very a big sort of personal highlight of my whole career, really, to actually go and work in a games developers and really see how it is, because, I think from the media side of things, we look at it and we think, it must be, there's a creative geniuses. And actually...
So glamorous.
So glamorous. And actually, yes, Media Molecule is an incredibly collaborative and wonderful place to work, but gosh, they work hard. How organised they were, how structured the work was, how they had, milestones that they had to meet, and how everything was so seriously considered, and every single aspect of those games are thought about to the nth degree. And, it was something to really be admired. So that was great. And my last one is a much, much, much more personal thing and much more to do with the team. And that was, I've never really talked about this publicly before, but and you were with us, Lynn, at the time, but, I had a personal tragedy in my life and I lost my partner. And that was extraordinarily difficult. And I had a couple of weeks off. And I remember when I came back to work, I was kind of so glad, I'm going to cry even thinking about it now, but I was so glad to come back to work and just for my team stroke family to be there. And I remember saying to everyone, look, I'm back. If you see me sitting in my office, and I'm doing it now, but if you see me in my office and I'm crying, don't worry about it. Just come in, just talk about work. Yes, I might be blowing my nose, but I want to talk about work. I want to be back here and I want to be with you all. And everyone was so amazing. And to have the program and the team and our audience, I don't think I would have got through that without everybody. So that was, thinking back, that, highlight is probably not the right word, but it was such an important time for me, and I really thank the team for that.
Yeah, but that is a point that has come across many conversations that we've had, and also, just recording interviews with everyone today as well, is how much of a family we all are. I think I've mentioned it in the past that we're all a bunch of nerds, but kind of in different ways. But somehow we've kind of, our nerd passion has kind of brought us together into the one place.
It has, and I think
to do something.
We respect that similarity and that the nerdish kind of DNA that we all have, but then we also love and respect the individual strengths and the differences that bring it into the team. And I wish that you were my family. We feel so related. I just hope that we all know each other for years and years to come. And also that we can get bigger, that there is room for new people. And then an extension of that for me is our audience. I sort of feel that, I have such a connection. I hope that the audience feel that they can have that back, but with the show to them, because, without them, we're nothing as well. So it's, the way our kind of core DNA within the program extends to the way that we are with our audience as well.
But also so many of our audience have come on this 10-year journey, this decade-long journey with us. And that's a long time for loyal viewers. And, we're talking about the 10th anniversary. And, is that something that obviously you're incredibly proud of, but in terms of, you know, the 10-year anniversary of Good Game, like, is there a core thing that you're like, you know what, like, if this is my legacy, like, this is like going to be the best, or, you know, this is what I'm most proud of?
I do think that. I do think back, you know, like, or I think I picture myself in the retirement village, you know, when I'm 90, and I will think back at this 10 years as a sort of, you know, creative highlight. But also, you know, I am so proud of it. I'm so proud of the fact that, you know, when we started, video games were seen as this kind of niche thing that was something that was really sort of the home of teenage boys, and that wasn't right. It wasn't right then. It's not right now. And that we've brought the ABC on this journey with us, because I still think, you know, to a certain extent, they don't necessarily understand, you know, why we make the show the way we make it, why we talk to our audience the way that we do. But they have supported us all that way. So there's always been this sort of and it hasn't been easy. There's been, you know, a struggle. We've had to fight. At times we've had to fight really hard to, you know, keep the show, to expand the show, to bring new people into the team. But, you know, every time we've done that, it's been worth it, because, you know, the show, well, it's still there, but it has always changed and grown with the audience as well, and also with how gaming has expanded and how gaming is now placed in the world of entertainment. And I think we've managed to kind of keep step with that, and help the ABC in a way to keep step with that as well.
I mean, it's such a special show, and often we don't get enough time to look back on it and look back on what we've done and how special it is, in a way, that we are in this I guess, spaceship of a public broadcaster in Australia, of all places, and then making the show. And really, we're one of the kind in the world, right? Like, there's nothing else like Good Game.
No.
Video games, for the foreseeable future, it's not going to go away. It's only going to get bigger and bigger. And more people are going to be in the industries, and, you know, they're going to see it more as entertainment and everything. If budget wasn't an issue, where do you see the Good Game empire? You know, where do you see Good Game, Spawn Point, Pocket, everything else, in terms of what it can be if budget wasn't an issue?
Yeah, I think there are some things that I would love to expand into. Like, I think that technology, there is definitely a place there for us. I mean, you know, we would love to make a companion program about technology. I also think we could craft an amazing program about the history of video games. You know, the creative side of them, but then the technology side of them as well, which are sort of, you know, intrinsically linked. I think there's so much to explore in that. And that would have to be, you know, I can imagine that being quite an expensive program, because you would have to travel and you'd have to go and get into the minds of these great developers.
Well, this is a hypothetical, and money is not a concern.
Money is not a concern. So that's why,
dream scenario.
Me, I'd love to go and make that program. I think we need our own channel.
Yeah. I mean, Darren needs his own channel already.
Absolutely.
Like,
Darren,
we need multiple channels.
I think we've got like 20 spin-off shows for Darren, right?
Yeah.
I'd love to make a show, a better show. We've done little bits about it, and they've been fine in Spawn Port, but I would love to make a show about coding for kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for younger Australians.
Well, I mean, you know, you and I have both seen what the schools are doing. And what kids are doing right now, and that is a future. Like, if you're the generation below mine, I mean, I don't know what that generation's called now. I think I'm like Gen Y / millennial / whatever. I have no idea what they're called. Are they? Is it M? No, I don't know. I actually don't know. I don't know. Anyway, so basically, kids who are in primary school right now.
Yes.
I mean, when that generation grows up, if you don't know coding, you're going to be the one who's left out, because every person of that generation, that would just be another language that they know.
Absolutely. It is the language of that generation. Yeah. And, you know, schools are starting to recognise that too. But I think there is it would take a team like ours to take that and then put the entertainment and the creativity into it as well, so that it was, you know, not worthy, but totally fun, and something that kids would really want to get involved in.
So you know how much I love Art Attack, right?
Yes.
So I feel like we need to find a Neil Buchanan version of a coder version of Neil Buchanan.
Yeah.
And just make an Art Attack version of
Perfect,
coding, right?
And this is not an expensive program to make, really, is it? In the scheme of things, we need to find, and we need to, just work out what's the most accessible way of creating a not even a television program, because that's kind of
it's all dead now.
Yeah,
it's all dead.
A video content. That's good.
Well, all the kids are on the apps and on the iPads, and that's what they watch things on. So,
but then that's great, isn't it? Because then they're
because
right
you make
there.
a 10-minute program or whatever. But I remember, growing up with Art Attack and all those other programs, and they would run for 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't run for half an hour or something.
And did you go and actually do the artwork? Like
No.
But if you've got your if you had your machine in your hand, you would, wouldn't you?
That's the thing, right? Because it's about resources.
Yeah.
And what you have access to. I didn't grow up in a very well-off family, so it's not like I had art supplies or dirt and pencils or whatever. I still enjoyed watching the show. But I think if you're a kid, even if you're not very well off, you will probably have a laptop of some sort. And basic coding, you don't need a very powerful computer, right?
Yeah,
you can get by with maybe a school laptop even, install Python, whatever, Linux, and you could start coding.
Yeah.
And I think that point of access for kids is brilliant.
Yeah.
It means that, you can be poor, you could still code.
Yeah,
it doesn't
exactly.
matter.
And the results can be quite quick too.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's you do it, and boom, there it is. You've done it. You've done it. You've created it. And then that leads into the next step, to the next step, to the next step. So I know we've got the series there, haven't we?
Okay, fantastic. I'm just going to clip this and then we could send this audio clip to ABC3 as our pitch.
ABC Me.
ABC Me. ABC Me. I've lost track of how many times they've rebranded. I won't give them this though. But yeah, we'll just send them this pitch, and
look, if I got a bigger job, Lynn, I would be handing you money. I'd say, what else would you like to make?
Yeah, exactly. Do you have a game that takes you to your happy place?
I do. I have a few actually. Probably the number one of those would be, at the moment, probably Skyrim. I just find I can play Skyrim at any point and it takes me off into that world. Yeah. And I mean, I've finished the game. Well, you
were debating this at the lunch table the other day, and you were saying whether you would replay the remastered version, right?
Yeah. And the jury is still out a little bit in my own mind about that, because, my relationship with that maybe should just be left where it is, as the kind of like the perfect love affair.
Don't revisit
don't revisit it, because it's going to turn ugly. The other game that I really, really love is City Skylines.
Yeah.
I can, and now just thinking about it now, I've got the itch, I've just designed a new roundabout in my head and I just can't wait to go and build that roundabout and see what the population think about it.
But you know what? It's finding happiness in simple things.
Yeah.
I think that is so important in life. It's like, we're so busy with everything that we don't get a chance to just kind of sit back and think on things. But if building a roundabout and City Skylines, gets you there,
it's deeply satisfying. You build this thing and then, it all starts to change around you as things become successful. And, I love it when I, clear a traffic jam and I see a skyscraper go up. I don't know, there's something that, is deeply satisfying about that game.
That's
for me.
Great. And that's the beauty with games, right?
Yeah.
It just allows you to do all these different things, because there are so many different genres and you can find anything.
Yes, you can. And I do love a deep immersive story, but I do find if I step away from them for 2 to 3 weeks, I've forgotten where I am. And then it's like, I just can't I can't kind of face that. I
have to read the Wikipedia synopsis to work out where
exactly.
you were.
But with City Skylines, I just open my laptop and I might just have a little visit of Linville again,
Just another roundabout there, another highway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll convert all that to oil.
Yeah. Well, perfect. Thank you so much, Janet.
Thank you, Lynn.
And that was our executive producer, Janet Carr. Now, if you want to know more about Janet's career and how she started Good Game, check out episode 12 of this podcast. And now we move on to Jo Reardon, writer-researcher extraordinaire and the biggest gamer I know this side of the planet. Jo.
Hello.
Hey, Jo.
How you doing?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Good. Very well.
All right. What's your earliest memory that you have of Good Game?
Earliest memory that I have of Good Game. Well, I probably have like the earliest of memories short of Janet. I remember she came to my house when I was probably still in school and had the pilot of Good Game. And she was like, Joe, I've got to show you this thing. FYI, disclaimer, me and Janet are related. We're cousins. So I've been playing games with her since I was a little thing. And yeah, she came over and showed me the pilot and I was like, holy crap, Janet's working on a TV show about video games. How do I get involved in this? But still at school at the time, so.
And if people don't know, Joe is a machine. He plays everything. He's like the best gamer at everything.
No, that's not true. I'm jack of all trades.
Just say that you
jack
are.
of all trades.
Sorry, no one's gonna question that. But you are like, king gamer across
very
the
king.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you find out your cousin is making this video game show. You're like, holy crap! How do I get in on that?
Yeah, pretty much. I offered all the help I could possibly get and or give, and she let me do some work experience and stuff. And I met John Gliston Kapowski back in the day, and I think the first thing they got me to do was capture some Gears of War. They needed help getting the final boss battle or something that. Just getting some footage of it. Yeah. So I came in and did that, and that was it was my first.
And before any of our listeners cry nepotism, how many years did you have to work on as like work experience before you finally got a job?
It would have been about 2, I think. Yeah. Because it was 2006 the show started. In 2008 I came on the show. Yeah. And that wasn't like continuous work experience, but it was
because that would be slavery.
I came in regularly, and I remember at the time, Janet, everyone on the team suggested, why don't you give this new, I had the lowest job, the production coordinator role. I say lowest, but it's like, it's very important. But it opened up and everyone on the team was like, well, why not get Joe? And Janet was like, well, it's my cousin, that feels a bit dodgy. Yeah. She sent it up the chain. They said, if he can do the job, that's fine. There's no reason not to. So I did the job. I did it well enough, and I'm still here. So doing a good job, I hope.
You're doing a great job. You're like, I guess you're the second longest running, third longest running.
Janet, Bajo, me, because Bajo came on just before. I mean, if you count the work experience, I was there before him. But
and you're doing a great job, Joe, because you're still with us.
Still with you.
So obviously you've seen and you worked on a lot of Good Game over the years. Yeah. What has been your most memorable and favorite moment?
That's a tough one. I mean, probably one of the funnest moments I had was when I got to go out to Cockatoo Island and dress up as Master Chief and play around with a real warthog and meet a bunch of the guys from Bungie, and that was just like, that was really cool. But I think probably like the best moment was when we as a team went up to Queensland for the first EB Games Expo, and that was sort of the first time as a show we really did anything like that and went to an expo, and just seeing the lines of fans and it blew all of our expectations and the expo's expectations. We basically broke the way the expo worked. We just filled the food hall with this line of people trying to see us. And that was just really heartening. Like, it's so, you sit in this office all day and you do this stuff and you read online comments, and it's mostly positive, a lot of negative. It can, it can distort your reality. And when you actually go out there and you see all these fans,
well, it's like, wow, people love us.
Yeah.
This is like great. People actually watch the show. People actually
like us.
Like, whoa.
They're not just bitter internet people.
They're not just bitter, like, jaded YouTube people, right?
Yeah.
What's something that you're most proud of?
I think probably some of the research pieces I've helped put together. The Awada memorial piece we did. I did most of the research and writing on that, and sorry, Gus, if everyone's giving you credit for that. That was actually, he did a great performance, and the editing and all that stuff is other people, but the writing on that and the way that came up and the emotional response that triggered a lot of people, I was really proud of that piece. It actually made people cry, which is like, that's a lifelong goal. If I can make people cry, then I've reached something.
That's a pinnacle as a writer, isn't it?
Pretty much.
And I want to mention something as well. I think people behind the scenes, a lot of viewers don't understand that. Yes, we have the presenters and the hosts, and they are in front of the camera and they deliver these pieces. But a lot of those pieces, like the Awada piece and the Digi essays and the BCs, are researched and written by others, people like you and producers and researchers as well. Yeah. And often it's a funny thing, like, if people hated the segment, we don't get the hate necessarily.
It's great.
Like the presenters get the hate, but then when people love it, we don't necessarily get the accolades either, right?
It all comes with the territory. Yeah. And I'm happy enough with that as well, because it's a team effort, and at the end of the day, it's there faces on the screen.
Yeah.
They're the ones getting either the love or hate for everything we do. So that's fine. You know.
Yeah. And you know when you've done a good job as well.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, even if you do the best job, people are going to hate it. There's always going to be haters out there. So you can never win them all.
No, you can't win them. But that's okay. Just read the good comments. Don't read the bad.
Yeah, I generally stop reading comments nowadays. It's just easier.
Yeah, it's better for your soul that way.
Yeah,
isn't it? Yeah. Do you have a game that takes you to your happy place?
Probably like original Halo. If I play through that, I'm always so nostalgic about you know, the times I had with that and with friends and couch co-op and all that stuff. Like that's a really happy game for me to play, and probably the game I've played the most amount of times. It's sort of a ritual. I probably play through that campaign like once a year at least. At the moment though, it's probably like I want to say Destiny, but at the same time, it's a love-hate thing with Destiny.
Yeah.
It's a game that's fun to jump into and shoot some stuff and, you know, get some gear for an hour and just kind of mindlessly switch off. But yeah, I'd say Halo is probably it.
Nice. I'm getting also a lot of love-hate responses. Like a lot of people are saying like, yeah, I play this game a lot. I love it, but I kind of hate it as well. Yeah, it's like feeding like both sides of my personality.
Anything that's like really has that hold on you that, you know, you kind of obsessively play. You see all the terrible bits in it.
Yeah.
You know, you see that more than anyone. The biggest fans of stuff are generally the ones who can see all the flaws. And you'll ask anyone who's a big Destiny fan, they'll tell you like all the worst bits for sure. Like there's no way you can be a big fan of something and not see its flaws, I think.
You were one of the earliest people to work on the show, and you're still here with us. What was it like in the early days, and how do you think Good Game has changed?
Early days, it was a simpler time. There was a lot less of us. You know, the room we're recording this podcast in was about as big as the studio, and it's a very small room. Yeah, I mean, there was only a handful of us, but the team's probably 4 times as big now. Much more complex. We've got, you know, so many moving parts now. But I think probably the thing that's, you know, the most striking is how little's changed in terms of sort of the culture and the feel behind the scenes. You know, that camaraderie's always been there. It's always been very friendly. As stressful as it can be, it's still somehow laid back.
We haven't killed anyone yet.
We haven't killed anyone yet.
That's a big plus.
Everyone's actually friends. Like a lot of people come into the workplace and they sort of see how we socialize and they're like, that's really kind of weird. You guys all like each other. Like you have lunch together and it weirds people out a bit. Yeah.
Some sort of weird intimacy.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's just grown. That's all. You know, we've just gotten bigger. Like the feeling and the people haven't... I mean, the people have changed, but like the personality and the culture behind the show hasn't. So,
budget isn't a concern, right? Money isn't a problem.
Yeah.
Where do you want Good Game to go? What would you do with Good Game?
That's tough.
I mean, being a lifelong gamer, being someone who's like very in tune with the culture of gaming, where do you think we should be heading?
I mean, I think we're in a pretty good spot. Like, I love what Pocket does because it gives us that immediacy to have, you know, as soon as we're allowed to show off a game, we can show it off. We can talk about the news every day. If anything, we'd probably like try and go bigger on that, you know, focus more on the internet side of stuff and being as responsive because, you know, the lead time we have with TV and stuff is just, it's unfortunate. Yeah. Because we could have something, you know, 2 weeks ahead of time and by the time it goes to air, it's just come out already. Like we need so much time to get a review out that is, you know, before the game comes out. And most of the time we're not allowed to. Yeah. But yeah, I think if we had more money, we'd just go bigger and better on what we already do.
Just more explosions.
More explosions, send more people to, you know, E3 and stuff like that, have just more fun with what we do. Obviously bigger budgets on BCs and stuff like that. And,
again, more explosions.
More explosions, yeah. You know, the Bond BC would be very different if we had $100,000 to chuck
like,
at that.
Yeah, instead of filming the ABC satellite that's on level 7, we would literally drive out to parks.
Yeah.
And film
get
the
some
satellite
explosives.
and get the explosives. I mean, you've seen the recent Top Gear trailer for Amazon?
I don't know if I've seen the most recent.
Okay.
Oh, actually, no, I saw them blow up a car with a tank. Yeah.
But it's, I mean, I don't know how much money Amazon threw at them.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Like 100 million for like 6 episodes.
Millions
or
per ep, for sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like some ridiculous amount of money. I mean, when is too much money?
I think that would be too much money for us because we'd probably get a bit too silly.
Yeah.
You know, in a way, we're a simple show in so many ways. We look and talk about video games. We know our passion. And the audience probably just wants a lot of that. Like they just want us to talk about games and play games. if we went on road trips and started blowing stuff up with tanks continuously, people would be like, what is this show even trying to do?
I think we'll get more viewers on YouTube though.
We probably would if we did a few like Mythbuster style things with video games, but other people have done all that stuff already. And it's,
sure.
I don't know. I think keep it simple sometimes works well. Yeah. It works well for us.
Keep it simple. I think the ABC management will be, would love hearing that. Yeah. Would be so thankful.
Keep it simple, but somehow get more viewers. That's always good.
Yeah. Do more with less.
I'll just spend a lot on marketing. That way we can actually get some more viewers.
Just pay for those
bus
those
ads
hits,
everywhere.
Those hits from Bangladesh.
Yeah, that would work too.
Bus ads everywhere. Our entire Bajo and Hex on buses throughout Sydney.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that.
That'd be great. Yeah. Pre-cinema little ads and all stuff like that.
Maybe we should just go graffiti a bus one day.
Yeah, some street art. That's what we need. Yeah.
Done. All right. Thanks very much, Jo.
No worries. It's been a pleasure.
And that was Jo Reardon, folks. Always opinionated, frequently hilarious. And if you ever need a name for things, he's your guy. He's been on a couple of roundtables, so check out those episodes. And to conclude, we finish with this man. He'll need no introduction because you'll recognise his manic cackle anywhere. Bajo. Stephen O'Donnell.
Lin Jie. Bagel.
How's it going?
It's going good. Welcome to my office.
Yeah. It's over in your office, Goose's office. We just had to shoo him away because he came back from a shoot, and now we're like, sorry, man.
Yeah.
We're recording a podcast in your office.
He looks sad.
He's got a smoking jacket on. He's fine. What's the earliest memory that you have of Good Game?
The earliest memory? Well, the first thing that comes to mind is when I talked to Janet for the first time, our series producer, who's now our EP. That wasn't when I was on the show, it was when I was auditioning. And just before I came into the audition, we chatted about World of Warcraft. And I was working at the cinemas at the time, and I was on shift. And she called, and I said, I've got to take this. This is important. And so I sat out the back of one of the cinemas for like half an hour just talking about World of Warcraft, basically, with her over the phone.
Yeah.
So that's my earliest memory of a connection to Good Game. My earliest memory of like working on the show, I think would be, the first one that comes to mind is God of War, which God of War 2, which is incredible game, 10 out of 10. And it was like the first big review I had, and I was just blown away by that incredible game. And I hadn't played PS2 in a while, so it was a real shock to see how amazing games have gotten on the consoles, because I was a PC guy for quite a few years there in between consoles.
And now I've asked a lot of people, on the show, that a lot of people think this is their dream job, right? You get to play video games for a living.
Yeah.
But previous to coming on Good Game, you've had a slew of
awful
different
jobs.
Career choices.
Slew of awful career choices.
What was the worst career choice?
The worst thing I've ever done was a shoe store. I was doing promo work, which is what struggling actors who are terrible do. Instead of acting, because I was awful.
Yeah, but you need money to eat somehow.
I need to eat and pay rent. Yeah. So I was in a shoe store, 3 days, 2 different locations, dressed up as Austin Powers, who was popular at the time. This is like 2000.
Can you give us an impression?
No, because I was terrible. I'd be like, yeah, baby. That's actually better. That's improved with time. But that's not even the worst part. I had the fake teeth in and the whole outfit. My job was to roam around the shop, handing out candy to people who were buying shoes.
Scintillating.
It is so creepy, and I was so unimpressed with the whole system that had happened. The whole situation, I ended up just standing and pretending to be a statue in the front window until like they asked me to leave.
Yeah.
And I got paid for 2 out of the 3 days.
So I've been chatting to a lot of people today, and for a lot of us, Good Game is kind of the start of our career. It's pretty much our first real jobs for a lot of us. But for you, you've come on with a lot of experience, doing a lot of different things. How special was it to find that you got this job?
It was definitely dream come true and like panic, because I knew that games were going through a bit of a change. We were really getting to that 360 generation. The PS3 360 Wii generation was about to hit. And as good as the PS2 and Xbox games looked, they were about to get a whole lot better. So it was a really exciting time for games and how they were going to change. PC always follows along with, what the consoles are doing. The thing about it was I knew that if we worked really hard, we would be able to keep this going because there were no other gaming shows and they wouldn't really work as well on other networks. And I think that's kind of, we've seen that when other networks have tried because they don't have the benefit of, not having to pay for it with advertising. So it's perfect for the ABC. And what I love about the ABC is they make shows that no one else does or can. And I don't know if Good Game would work on other networks when it is still... Gaming is still niche. As much as I like to think gaming isn't niche anymore and it's broad and there's people playing games on their phones every day, it's still kind of niche, when you look at...
Isn't it weird when people play games? And, I don't differentiate between mobile games, to console, to PC or whatever. But, people play games. A lot of people play games, right? But they don't identify as someone who is a gamer or someone who actually plays games until you question them on it and you're like, well, you play Bejeweled and Candy Crush, so you play a game. And they're like, oh, that's not really a game.
Doesn't count.
That doesn't count. It's
Is it a game?
No, it counts. Everything counts.
Yeah,
and so,
it all counts.
a great majority of the public are gamers.
Absolutely.
But it's just like they don't self-identify as well.
And we need them to take that leap from mobile to like the incredible, experiences that games are delivering right now because the more people that play games, the more games we will have and the better they will be.
What was it like in the early days?
The early days were hard, like we had such a small budget. Not that we have a huge one now, but I remember we had a little room we were shooting in. We didn't always have like a full crew. We had to really just I think I was part-time for the first season, so it was trying to do all that work in a part-time schedule was really tough. I was still working at the cinema at the time and just trying to find your voice and your feet in a job like this. Because I came on in series 2, so it was already a bit established and just trying to move from the presenting I'd done in my previous job. I did this awful late night quiz show. That's the second worst thing I've ever done, but it was live. Yeah, it was live and it was a live TV gig on broadcast television. Amazing. I learned so much, but the trying to find my voice and lose it and become myself. And the more I did it, the more I learned that you just the more you are yourself, the more you radiate. Not that I think I radiate, but the more you radiate on screen.
Oh, Bajo, you radiate.
There's some sort of radiation going on, that's for sure.
You radiate for sure.
But when one of my favorite improv lines is no one is ugly when they're laughing. Yeah. And I think that kind of speaks to it. It's if you're being yourself and genuine and truly enjoying something, it shines on people's faces. And so I believe when you're presenting, you need to be, the more you're yourself, the more people can relate to you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people always ask me if you're as weird as you seem. And I'm always
what do you tell them?
I tell them you're way weirder in real life. like you're a weird man.
Yeah. Tell me, Lin Jie, tell me, why am I so weird?
I don't know. You're just weird. I mean, that cackle, man.
I don't know where it came from.
When you were away for 8 weeks or whatever, the last couple of months, and we all missed that cackle. That ridiculous, that off the wall thing that just happens throughout the day.
I don't know where it came from because I have 3 different laughs.
Yeah.
And I have the seal kind of laugh, and then I've got a really loud I can't do it. It's got to actually happen. I can't fake that one. It's usually when something dirty or something really hits that kind of dark side of my sense of humor. And then when I find something a bit trolly, that cackle comes out. And I think it's due to the increase of trolling in the universe and kind of stupid internet meme things that has made that cackle appear. And I can't get rid of it. I actively try not to do it.
You were saying that first season you were trying to find your voice. You're trying to lose that kind of facade of being a presenter, right? And you could see kind of in the old episodes of Good Game that you were a lot more stoic.
I was nervous, as well.
You're a lot more nervous and you're a lot more presentery. That's not it's not a real word, but it is a word that we use to describe people that don't have a sense of truth in their performance. And it's great that I have to say in the last 5-6 years, you can really see that kind of weirdness, but that weird passion, right?
Yeah.
You look at E3 this year and...
That was a good time.
Your enthusiasm for games is infectious. I don't think there's anyone else on the team who is as enthusiastic about games, like you are in a way. But that energy coming across through the screen is brilliant. There's no filter now, which is great. Like there's just unbridled joy of gaming.
Just a no filter, just pure nonsense spouting out 24/7. That's
Pure
pure
weirdness.
bagel. How could you not be so excited about games? You know, I guess I'm very lucky because I get to play so many.
Yeah.
And a lot of the paperwork side of the job and the nuts and bolts, I don't have to worry about, which is wonderful. So I just get to like live, half my week in new amazing games and like really sink my teeth into them and get excited about them. And how can you not? Games are just so good. They're just doing so many interesting things, the way they push on our emotional buttons and how incredibly beautiful they look. It's art, it's entertainment, it's expression, it's so many different things.
Yeah.
It's how could you not get so enthusiastic about it,
I mean, we joke about this, but I mean, I've often said that it always feels like you found your dream job and that this is your place in the world.
Oh, totally. I mean, I how could it not be as well? I grew up playing a lot of video games. Isolated. I was an isolated kind of kid in a horrible country town. It was horrible for me. The town itself is probably not quite nice now, but I had a horrible time in that town. I did not fit in, and I played a lot of video games, and then in school I loved computers. I loved editing. I did film and TV and drama in school, and then I did more computer stuff out after school, ran a computer shop for a while, and just like constantly always gaming, always in that kind of let's make something. And then the acting side of things, I really enjoyed the performance side of things, and I enjoyed like putting together something, making my own short films and seeing what worked and what didn't, and like seeing how you can put it together to make it better. And just all of those things kind of came to a point with Good Game. It was I've won a cosmic challenge. I've won something. What I think it is like I've had such good karma, especially like the last year. I've had such great karma with work and my professional life that I feel like it's all due to like a really shitty childhood. I had the worst childhood.
It's like
and I think it's balancing out, but we're just about at the edge. So like next year it's all going to come crashing down.
I'm knocking on fake IKEA wood right now.
That's going to come crashing down if you do that too hard.
Yeah, let's not think about that. You're at a good point in your career. You're at the pinnacle. We're all very, very happy. You've seen Good Game through some tough times, but through a lot of television. We've been making this show for a very long time. You've been on the show for like 8 years or something.
This is my 11th year. So the show started in 2006.
Yeah.
So I did 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. This is my 10th year.
Yeah.
I can count properly. Yeah, because the show's 10 years old, kind of, but we're in the 11th year of the show.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So 10 years, having a job in television
man.
for a decade, it's amazing.
Having a job for a decade.
I
haven't even had a job for a decade yet.
Yeah. And I'm so aware of how lucky I am, and I think that's really key when you are doing a creative job and a job that's very rare. It's precious, and I think you just constantly need to be aware
of how precious
it is, and like treasure it. Like one day Good Game may stop, and I don't want that to worry me now. Like I just want to enjoy it and ride it and do the best I can and try and learn all the time. And that's what I've learned this year more than ever is that there's always things to learn. There's always new challenges you can find. And if you're not challenging yourself, if you're like kind of complacent and comfortable, then, I mean, that's fine for some people, I guess. But I feel like you're not moving forward. And so that's why I love the show, because there's always new challenges and always new things to do and new opportunities around it too.
It depends on the person, but I think for me in particular, like I've always made a pact with myself when I was basically in high school and even in uni, like that I knew this was the path that I was going to take, into media and into production, basically. And I always said to myself, once it stops being fun and once I stop learning and once I stop improving, that's when I'm going to give it up.
Yeah, that's a great motto to have,
Because I think at that point, I mean, my mortgage would beg to differ right now. But for me at that point, I feel like that's a good time to move on.
Well, that's when you're in the rut. You know, when I worked at Movie World, I've never seen more people stuck in a rut. For some reason, at Movie World, there were so many people who had been there for like 10 years and were just having no fun, and they seemed lost to me. And that's a big generalization. I'm sure the people at Movie World aren't like that. But I guess what my point is, like, when I see, like, when getting stuck in a rut's the worst possible thing. You know, like, money comes and goes. Money isn't the be all and end all. You will find a way to eat in most cases, right?
Just dumpster dive.
The hard thing is, dumpster diving. You can see, there's an option. You're already using your mind for when, you know, you need to pay off that mortgage.
Yeah.
When those interest rates go up.
I will be dumpster diving.
Straight to the dumpster.
ABC dumpster, that's...
What will be in the ABC dumpster?
Actually, no, fuck that. I'm not going to go to the ABC dumpster. That's terrible. I mean, as I said, we've done a lot of Good Game. We've done a lot of TV. What's your most memorable and favourite moment of Good Game? You can have many.
It's so hard.
I allow many. You don't have to have the one.
I mean, I loved last year we did a lot of those, like, guess the game gags, you know, and they were always so much fun. We were just, you know, indulging ourselves a little bit and having to do a little short film every week. They were great fun. GDC, I went to GDC in like year 3 or so. And that was incredible. Just seeing developers talking without the spin, you know, like developers in like Sid Meier and you know, all those huge devs chatting about the industry at the moment and where it was. And we also met Will Wright, you know, who The Sims and he was doing Spore at the time, and just like talking to these heavyweights who've been in the industry for so long. I think that's it for me. Like, obviously the games are so fun and so much fun to review, and working on the show is heaps of fun, and working with Hex and everyone else is just, it's like, I feel like this is my family, you know, and I fucking love the people here. I love everyone, and I always look forward to just seeing them, you know, and working with them. But when I meet the devs, like, I feel like, you know, we're all just like scummy, inverted commas, journos.
Just fucking plebs.
We're feeding on the art, you know. We are bottom feeders feeding on the art, right? These are the people who are making these incredible games, and the skill and dedication and risk involved in making a new video game is so high. So hearing them talk about with passion. I think the one that comes to mind more than any other is Dean Hall, who did the DayZ mod. He just spoke so interestingly. Like, this is just a little open world PvP mod where you're shooting zombies and other players. But the game was so much more than that, and he knew it. And talking to him about how dangerous, like the dangerous emotions that game played with, and that, I think that's the first big highlight for me that comes to mind. There are so many. There are so many. Every day is the new highlight. This is now a new highlight. This right here.
Oh, it's the newest thing you make as your favorite thing. That's my motto.
The scene we just shot where I was in a towel and then I took off the towel. That was the new highlight.
That was a new highlight. People can see that in a couple weeks' time. What are you most proud of?
How it's grown. I'm so proud that we have a daily show. I'm so proud of Pocket. You know, I have very little to do with Pocket, but seeing, I'm proud that our show is able to make that show. I'm proud of Well Played, our esports show. There's not enough of those, and I'm proud of Spawn Point, that we're able to grow a kids show. You know, like, we get people coming up to us now like, I used to watch you when I was a kid, which blows my mind and just feels
so wait, mate, you're still a kid.
Yeah, all sort of warm and fuzzies, you know. I'm just proud of how the show's evolved over the years, and how we've managed to attract really talented, lovely, funny people who just love games. You know, it's seeing the show grow and evolve and expand. Makes me very happy. I think I was sitting with our EP Janet, I think at the end of last year, maybe, you know, after we'd done the first year of Pocket, or was it the year before? Last year?
Yeah, last year was the first year of Pocket.
Yeah. And we were just like looking at everyone, you know. I think we were having a rap party, or we were having like a celebration, and we just had this moment of like, this is how it's grown, and it's so beautiful, you know. So yeah, that makes it quite emotional.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you guys were at the coalface, you know, in the beginning, where there were like 4 or 5 people in the show. Yeah. And suddenly we've got like, 18 or 20 now. Yeah. Like, it's insane, right?
Yeah. And they're all good, you know?
Yeah.
There's no dead weight. Everyone's really good.
Everyone's like pretty and handsome.
Yeah.
And stylish.
Yeah. Especially in this room.
Only in this room. Come on, I've got like pink pants on today. Salmon pink jeans.
Salmon pants. What a choice. I've got my cat socks on inside out.
You got brown pants on.
I got brown pants.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Nice sweater.
Thanks. I'm into sweaters at the moment. It's from my time in Melbourne.
So good.
I'm sweating like crazy.
Not great for Sydney summers. Do you have a game that takes you to your happy place?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is Dark Souls, because it is a certain type of happy place. But it gets me in a state of flow. So I call a happy place a state of flow with gaming. If you're unfamiliar with a state of flow, it's when you get into a rhythm where you're getting enough reward that you want to keep playing, and also enough challenge that you're not bored. And when a game can get you into that zone, like, Skyrim is the perfect example. Like, you can sit down and spend 100 hours making daggers in Skyrim and be completely happy. When games get me into that, and what's so beautiful about Dark Souls is the state of flow in that is so intense, but you never want to stop. You got to beat that game. It's challenging you. It's this big gauntlet. So I think that puts me in the happy place. That and Peggle. I played a lot of Peggle when it first came out, and it's just such a joyous popping kind of game with sparkles and light, and you just play that, and you can't not smile.
Just happy.
And most Nintendo games are the same. The Nintendo made Nintendo games when they
for the first 20 minutes anyway.
Yeah. But that's all you need.
That's all you need. 20 minutes. I've got a question from Minda McLean here. Has there ever been a great GG shenanigan pulled off by the entire team, or was it just the one person? And I want to clarify that question by saying you are the one guy who is into shenanigans on the show. Like, you hide in places to try and scare people.
I do enjoy shenanigans.
Like, I think one of my favorite ones is, did you hide under Hex's desk?
I've hid under her desk many times.
Yeah.
Sometimes to no avail for 20 minutes. It's like, that was a waste of time. Because sometimes she goes for a huge walk to get food, and sometimes she doesn't.
Last time I found you behind a stash of cardboard boxes waiting for Hex to come along to scare her.
She didn't come. I was going to explode out of them.
I was there for like 5 minutes trying to film on my phone, and it didn't happen.
I was there for 20.
What was your greatest coup?
So you will remember, I'm sure, I couldn't make the rap party year before last. I think it was year before last.
Oh, yeah.
And because I was doing a job in Melbourne, I think. It was my mum's 70th birthday, and I had to be there.
Yeah.
So just bad timing. But I made a video for everyone.
I remember this
to the song of Wrecking Ball. And the video was me putting keyboards, rubbing my butt on keyboards around the office.
Your naked butt.
No, it wasn't naked.
No?
I had pants on.
Oh, okay.
But it got pretty close. It's actually with Ben's, I put it right down my pants, and he deserved it. And I sang a song. And it would slowly reveal, when I got to the chorus, I put my butt on your keyboard, and then I would show the image of everyone's keyboard and my butt.
Yeah.
And it was a glorious,
terrifying.
glorious moment.
Truly terrifying.
It was lovely. But the best part was I did it weeks before.
Yeah. And at that time, we were at the rap party watching this video, and everyone had this collective look on their faces after the video finished of holy shit, I've been using that keyboard for weeks. And I've got Bajo's butt juice on it.
Good times. I was thinking at time, is this an occupational health and safety harassment thing?
Oh, yeah.
Forget about it.
Hey, Polly, forget about it.
I'm a contractor. I'm not even full time, so they can't do anything.
Honestly, the amount of stuff that OH&S and Human Resources could pull us up on in this office is hilarious. But we get away with it because we're family.
Yeah.
And we do things to each other that only family would do.
True. And we also argue like family, and get frustrated at each other like family.
Yeah. Bitch behind each other's backs like family.
I always think of Hex and I as we're she's my work wife, and I'm her work husband, and this is something that she said once, and I totally agree with it. It's kind of like we're married but without the good stuff a lot of the time, we do all things that drive each other crazy.
See, I interviewed her,
but we love each other,
and we said it was more of a sibling relationship.
Oh, really? So, well, she said marriage to me once, and I thought that was fine. Siblings fine as well. They're both fine.
It's because a lot of viewers have pulled up that moment in Japan when you played the relationship game.
Oh yeah,
and you got friend zoned and everything.
That was rigged.
But
I had the biggest fever and
Yeah.
a flu at the time. That's
Yeah.
what I put it down to.
So the heat, meant
Just the
that you
sheer
were
sweat
into
and
hex.
like infection that was riddling my body while we
Yeah.
were in Tokyo. I didn't remember much of Tokyo because I was so sick. But I do remember walking through. Some trees
Yeah.
in a garden, and then as clarity was returning, I was like, "Oh, that must have been a good trip. It feels good."
What was the funniest moment that you've ever had, like when you're out shooting something? Can you remember? Like you know how you're on the bus sometimes and you just think of a moment and you start
Yeah.
cracking up and everyone looks at you like you're a loony.
It's not the funniest moment, but it is the moment. It's actually kind of more like the angriest moment.
Yeah.
At 1E3 when they announced the Kinect.
Yeah.
It's funny in retrospect.
Yeah.
But at the time it was horrible.
Yeah.
What happened was they made like 400 journos stay in the cold
Yeah.
while Microsoft set up the thing they were doing.
Yeah.
And we're all freezing and it started to rain, I think, as well. And it's like, guys, let's get the show on. It's Sunday night before the big E3 really starts. You don't want to annoy journos on a Sunday night before
Yeah.
the E3 begins. Anyway, they finally let us in. They make us all wear these white ponchos.
Yeah.
You know, like you just imagine like the nerdiest tech and gaming people you've ever met all wearing white ponchos in like a magical forest.
Yeah.
That's what it was like. And then Cirque du Soleil with their creepy little children all pretended to play Kinect games and, you know, it was just the creepiest thing ever. They're flying around, they're jumping, they're like, wow, we're having fun, aren't we? In this kind of European accent. It was terrifying. It was legitimately terrifying and anger-inducing.
But hilarious when
That's
you
what,
think
in
about it.
retrospect, it was absolutely hilarious. The Kinects weren't even on. Those kids are just so scary. Don't get scary French kids.
Just
Microsoft.
clowns, man. Clowns, anything to do with clowns.
Clowns in general,
Circus.
especially if they're creepy in French.
Yep. All right. So because I'm interviewing everyone else, I can't necessarily interview myself. I mean, I can. But can you ask me the first question? And then I'm going to answer it.
All right, the first question. What's the earliest memory that you have of Good Game?
So when I first started at the ABC, I didn't start at Good Game. I was on a digital business graduate position program with digital business.
What does that even mean?
I don't even know what it meant. But it meant I basically worked in a lot of different departments over like 2 years. But I never made it to 2 years because I came onto Good Game before it finished. But I remember at that point in time, I was sitting on level 9 with the digital business team, well, the ABC Shop Online team. And it was kind of right next to the old GG Studios
Yeah.
up on level 9.
Yeah.
And I remember I think within like the first 3 months, you and Jung, you guys were doing a Lord of the Rings skit, near the toilets.
Yeah.
And I could just hear like bellowing across the floor, "You shall not pass," just like from the toilets. And that was it. That was like my first memory of Good Game.
Wow, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, we shot a lot of stuff in that toilet.
Yeah, Jesus. That was 09.
Yeah.
So how many years is that?
Yeah, seven or so years.
7 or so years ago.
We had a lot of fun up there on level 9. It was we were so noisy. And no matter where we go, we've annoyed whoever's around us because we're very noisy. We do a kids show now as well, so you know.
Oh, we are super
lots of
noisy.
silliness.
And the funniest thing is, like I was there doing majority admin paperwork, you know, some graphic design here and there, and I can just remember thinking like, oh man, they're having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, I didn't know I was going to intern on Good Game during my program. And obviously I didn't know that I was going to end up on Good Game. But in that moment, it was like, yeah, these people look, you know, seem like fun.
Yeah.
You know, they seem to be having a lot of fun.
I think, you know, most of the people here are doing what they love.
Yeah.
You know, and that's key. You got to do what you love. You got to find a way to do what you love. I've got a friend recently who had a quite well-paying job that he wasn't really enjoying that much, but it paid well, so he was stayed doing it. And the job ended. Like it wasn't his fault, wasn't anyone's fault. And then he is doing all the things he actually loves. And like the money's 100 times worse, but he is 100 times happier. You can just see it in his face.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta do what you love. Well, what's the point?
And
you
you
get to
gotta have
80
fun, man.
and you're like, oh, that was crap. Oh, dead.
It's over, man.
And you know, but there's one thing to remember, I think, Lin Jie, in all of this. You know, if you're ever stressed out, you know, upset about what's going on in your life, not having a good time in your career, just remember one day you'll die.
Thank you for that sage advice. Oh, wise Bajo. Thank you. I think the kids are going to take a lot from that. Cheers. Bye. And those were wise words from the one and only Bajo. And that's it for this episode. Still to come, everyone else from Hex, Goose, the entire Pocket team, and some folks whom we haven't heard before on the podcast. There's still lots of interviews worth of laughter and memories to share. If you have a comment or a question, tweet me at Eldrology or leave a comment on SoundCloud or Facebook. You can also subscribe to this podcast through iTunes. I'm Lin Jie Kong. Till next time, goodbye.